Recording. Hello, guys. We are live, not live, but we are recording, right? Our class for today. So, we from today onward, right? We're gonna work on the DevOps, the basic concept of Docker, CI/CD, and a Turbo repo, mono repo, and a couple of more things, right? So today class is Docker. Okay, what exactly is Docker, right? So you will find all the definition here. Okay. So let's quickly talk about Docker, right? Docker, Docker is the programming concept, right, or idea in which you put your code in one place, right? Like you wrap everything. So let's say this is a Docker, right? This is the Docker engine. Docker engine will, like take your code, right? So for example, let's say this is your code. You put your code in one place, right? Somewhere here, okay? So you just add all your code inside here. So that may be like Node.js, right? Something you are running, or Node.js, you build the app, you have index.js, something like that. Let's say this is the backend, right? Whatever, okay? Maybe, and you want to run this code inside the Docker. So we're gonna have to write the rules, right? Some rules to run this code inside the Docker. What Docker does is it creates a container, right? Container, okay? The concept of container. Container, when you see, you wrap all your code in one package. Just imagine a folder of the code, right? That is called image. Then you run that image inside the Docker engine, right? That is called container. Container, okay? Now, what is container? Just imagine container is a separate kind of computer, right? Like separate entities or separate computer, let's imagine a small computer running inside your Windows computer or Mac computer, right? So if this is your Windows computer, maybe, let's imagine this is your Windows computer, right? Inside you have Docker running, okay? Inside the Docker, you have the image, then you have the container which runs that image, right? So with this, we can say image is nothing but the program, right? Set of things or program inside, okay, inside our container, right? Then we have container which run that image. Just give me a second, guys. There is some kind of distraction. Okay, so we understand now that the container is nothing but the system running inside your window, right? If this is your window computer, right? And then this is the Docker engine, okay? This is your what? Docker engine. This is a Docker engine, right? Let's call it Docker engine. So inside the Docker engine, you can have many images, okay? And you can have many container running, right? Simultaneously. Each container creates separate computer. Like, they have the set of program to run inside, right? And they will run in that container, okay? You can have multiple container also, right? And you can have connection between each containers also, okay? So that we're gonna go in the future, but for now, just understand container is nothing but the small system running inside your Docker engine, right? So just imagine this container has one small website, right? And you need to access at port. So the container also have its own port, okay? Let's say 3000 port, right? Now from window computer, you want to access this one, right? So if I have a browser here, in the window, right? I said look in the browser localhost 3000. I want to connect to this container because all my website is inside this container, right? So that means localhost 3000, and that 3000 will redirect me here, okay? So we have to write command for that also, right? But only thing you understand is container is a small piece of computer running just in the memory, right? Separate computer, okay? Or set of rules which makes uh, just call it one system, right? Running inside the engine, okay? That is simple enough, okay? So you have image, you have this the container and the Docker engine, right? So that is all. You can like you can have many container inside, okay? You can have many images, right? All that, okay? So let's go through this like things and try to understand, right? So first, step one, I'm gonna divide this into multiple step, right? And we're gonna go step by step. Why Docker? Why do we need Docker, right? So Docker provides a lightweight, portable, and consistent environment for application development. See, so environment, right, for application development. So basically, a small system running inside your main computer or maybe in the cloud, wherever, right? Separate. It does not need help of any other outside resource. Once that container is live, right, means the things you need is already running inside there. If you need database, you need to run your Node.js, like maybe Next.js, anything. So it's all running inside there, right? You might have many containers, depends on your requirement, right? But each container is just like lightweight, portable, and consistent environment. Okay, that's what I was saying. I was saying system, separate system, right? But it's just the environment for application development, testing, and deployment also, right? You see, ensuring that software runs reliably across different computing environment. Now, different computing environment means what? Maybe Windows, maybe Mac, maybe Linux, maybe any operating system, right? So normally in the web hosting, you will find Linux, right? They said, okay, use Linux for your development so that it's have less bug. Development process is more like efficient. In the Linux, right? Maybe sometimes people using Ubuntu or in any other Linux package, right? But the only thing for us is like we never use Linux. Linux mostly run on the command line. But if you start using Linux, you will learn it, right? I mean, it's not that difficult. I use a couple of times, but mostly I stick to the window, right? But it's okay. If you have containerized your system, because in the hosting, most of the time when you hosting, right, you have to host in the Ubuntu or maybe one of the Linux software, right? Okay. So it's a better idea to have container or image, right? And just send the image there and run the command. Okay. That container will be created and it will run your code there, right? That's it. And it has like all the, like the route to connect with outside world, right? With your, IP address or basically your URL or link, like www, whatever, e5.com, something like that, right? So that will connect to your container. That is port mapping, right? So everything happens automatically. You don't have to worry, okay? So now we understand, right? Docker is nothing but the environment, portable environment to run your application, okay? You can do development, testing, deployment, whatever you want to do with that, right? So running processes in isolated environment, see that? So each container is running in the isolated environment, means it does not, once container is live, it does not need help of any other stuff because it itself is a whole system, right? Lightweight portable system. Starting projects and auxiliary services locally, right? What is auxiliary services? Anyone? What is this auxiliary, right? What is that? Auxiliary services. I hope I pronounce correctly, right? So anyone, auxiliary, what is that? So normally you have the main system, right? Let's say you're running the Next.js project, okay? You just wrote the Next.js. Now Next.js need maybe other services, okay? So sub services, right? That's what I believe we call it auxiliary services. Okay, any other supporting services, right? So you can add all supporting services within there, within the container, right? You can containerize all that supporting services. So starting projects, the main projects, and any supporting services, right, locally. Good. So let's understand this image now, right? So you are a developer. You wrote a code, right? Just imagine you wrote a node backend code. Maybe there is something like localhost 3000 root path, right? And you want to go to the, let's say, get something, get some data, right? So you remember the backend service, how you can run that with Express, something like that. Okay. So when you do localhost root path, and in that root path you are getting something, maybe some object, right? List of users, whatever. Okay. So in that case, I mean, once you develop your node application, right? What's gonna happen is you can containerize that. Okay. You're gonna add Docker file. You can, that will create a Docker image, and when you run that image, right, it will become Docker container. Container is basically the live system. Okay. Image is only the program, right? Means you wrap all your code in the image. That is one thing. When you make that image live, that creates container, right? So the next thing is Docker Hub here. What is Docker Hub now, right? So you can store your image in the Docker Hub. Okay. So let's go back and try to understand the Docker Hub now, right? If I go Docker, Hub. So Docker Hub is similar to GitHub. Okay. In our GitHub, what we do, we create our account, right? And we store our projects, like you git clone or git add, git commit, whatever, right? You store your projects in the GitHub. GitHub is a cloud storage for developer or anyone, right? I mean, the cloud storage. So similarly, for Docker, right, there is a Docker Hub is similar to the cloud storage. Okay. So why we need to store here in the Docker Hub? I mean, because Docker, they came up with the idea, right? Okay, we're gonna let people use our system to containerize the project, right? And then they can store that image. We call it image. Okay, store in our server, and then from here you can use it to send to your friend, let anyone clone it, right? Or you can deploy directly to your hosting provider. So let's say you are using one of the hosting provider, right? There you can just call that image and start the command, right? So that the container will be created in your hosting service and it will be live easily, right? So if something is running inside your local machine Docker, you convert it to the image, you store in the hub, Docker Hub, and now you can use the same image for your hosting also, right? You can just clone it there and run, right? And everything will be smooth. One couple of line of command, and it will be live. So you can just log in here, right? Sign in. I just don't remember my password. Hope it will let me log in, right? Yeah. So here, when you log in, right, you will get like download, like download for Windows. You can just download for Mac or Linux. Okay, so that will be download desktop application, right? So next, we are talking about the Docker Hub. Let's find out. I mean, this is the Docker website, right? So it will give you the, I mean, yeah. Let's look at here, right? Look at all this program, okay? Python, whatever, LangChain. I mean, I don't know what is that. So let's see what we are using. Python is there. HTTPD, and Nginx, Postgres. Look at here, the Postgres, right? This is what we use, Postgres, MySQL. You can look for the, let's look for the MongoDB, right? We can search here. MongoDB. So, something like that. So there are many images, right? So let's look for the Bitnami MongoDB. Or you can, you can even find the main, not from this service, right? But you can find the, like main image, right? From the MongoDB. So let's try to find that. Mongo, right? Just type Mongo. Hopefully it will give us something. Yeah, so this is the main Docker official image for Mongo, right? So we can use that, we can use that. It's just saying, okay, just run Docker, run the name of your Docker, whatever, right? Let's say the image, whatever the container you want to create the container, this will be container name, some mongo -d and mongo dash, this is just a command, different thing, right? So this is the like detached mode. We can talk about that later, but let's not worry about that. So this command, what this command will do, right? It will clone, because this is already built image, okay? Something is already built. Most of the program we use, right, already, like already is here inside a Docker Hub, similar to node package, okay? Node package, you keep installing everything from npm, right? Npm install something. Similarly, here is almost all packages or program we need are created for us, okay? We just call it, right? So if I just call docker pull mongo, right, in my terminal, it will pull this image into my system, okay? If I already have, then it will not pull, right? So that's the image, and that's the Docker Hub. Docker Hub is nothing but the cloud platform for storing the images, right? So that that image can be shared between anyone, right? And no matter what system you're gonna run that image, right? Linux, Windows, whatever system, it will run smoothly. You don't have to worry about like mismatching, like npm packages. Oh, this npm package will not run in that system, or it, something like that. You don't have to worry, because see, the image will create its own container, and that container is going to install everything based on the requirement, right? It does not worry about your like local environment there, whatever is that server or whatever, right? It will not care about the local environment. It creates its own isolated environment, right? And that isolated environment is okay to run all the required, required what packages, right? It will run everything, whatever is given there, okay? So that's the basically the concept of Docker, right? So any question until now? Anyone has any question? We understand why we need Docker, right? And what is container and what is image, and where is the image stored, right? Just imagine you have a project, you want to make it easy to host, right? You create image, there is just a command, and then you store in the just pull it here, right, in the git, what you call the Docker Hub, and then you can link to your server wherever you want to send or host, right? You can clone it there, and then just there will be command, setup command, okay? It will just run automatically. You don't have to do anything, right? So that is all. If everyone clear on the image, container, and the Docker Hub, right? So let's keep moving to the next things. Okay, so look at here now. If you look at this Docker Hub, we just saw, right? This is a developer. We create our own image. You can store in the hub. Now you can pull it, right, somewhere, staging environment, maybe, like hosting environment, wherever, right? You can pull that image and then run the command, right? It will create the container there, because container is the running environment, right, which runs that image, okay? So wherever you need, you can pull and run, right? Fine. So that was all. So if you have the like as a local development in the PC, right, you can run your own container here in locally, or you can, let's say you have the local Docker, right? You can run your app here, local, in the local environment. You can create multiple container. You can see, right? You can have multiple containers running database, running maybe, anything you can run, okay? Any software, right? Whatever Docker support you can run, okay? You can push it to the registry, Docker registry that was, so see that not only the Docker Hub is not the only one registry, okay? There are many, right? So like Docker Hub or Azure Container Registry, you can, maybe Google has Google Cloud Registry, something like that, okay? So there are many different registry, but our job is to just focus with the Docker Hub, right? Maybe Amazon, if you working with Amazon Cloud, right? There you're gonna find their own registry, okay? So your program, right? You can store in their registry, and then you use that registry to run in one of their EC2 machine, right? Or one of their server, okay? Wherever you have registered, you can run, right? So, or you can connect to the Docker Hub, that will work also. Okay, guys. So now so we understand why Docker, we saw some idea, right? I mean, what is Hub, Docker image, and all that, right? And Docker container, okay? The next thing is containerization, right? What are containers, okay? And what is containerization? Containers are packaged. I mean, we understand container already, right? Containers package and distribute software application, making them easy to deploy and run consistently across different environment. Oh, this is all definition, right? Difficult to read, okay? So they bundle an application with all its dependency, right? Dependency means what? All the packages, npm package, what you have in your package.json file, dependency, right? Everything you need to run your application, okay? If you are building e-commerce, what are the different packages you have installed? So see, the containerization, right, is the way of packing everything together, okay? And Docker help us to do that, right? That is all, okay? So why container? Everyone has different operating systems. Steps to run a project can be vary based on operating systems, right? I mean, running projects based on operating system differ a little bit, right? Extremely harder to keep track of dependency as project grow, right? So to avoid all this and make your project run smoothly in any environment, we need a container, right? We need to containerize our project, right? So, okay, so let's look at here, right? For reference, the following command starts Mongo in all operating system, right? If I say docker run -d -p, let's forget about this, right? Or just like docker run Mongo, okay? If I go back to my command here, right? I need to first start my Docker, okay? Let's start, right? So I have the Docker engine installed. I will just run that. Docker desktop, right? When I run this, it will run the Docker desktop, okay? It's running, right? If you get there is a new version available, let's ignore that. So yeah, so you can see something running here, right? Like I don't know what is all that. I basically, before I was experimenting couple of things, right? So let me just delete it. Maybe if it will let me delete, right? Let me delete all that. So you see something is running here, okay? You can see here it's running, okay? So I don't have any container now. Image, let's look at the image. What are the image I have? I have image for Mongo, right? And kindest node, I think this is the node.js, okay? Something like that. So these are like almost 1 GB, right? Mongo and all that. But I will delete and we're gonna try to add again, okay? So image, sometimes see, the good thing, right? When you have a container and that container needs some images, right? Once it download in your local environment, and next time you run the container, right, it will not take time. It's all the images are there, it just quickly run, right? But first time it's gonna take time, okay? So I don't have anything. Now what I will do, I'm just gonna run the command, right? So this is my, just imagine this is my Docker engine running. Okay, it's live right now in the system here. You can see here engine is running, right? Docker engine is running. Okay, I'm gonna just use my terminal, right? Command prompt. Yeah, I'll just call here. So if I just type Docker, what I will get, right? Docker. So see, it gives me a couple of things here. Common commands, right? So a self-sufficient runtime for container. So what is Docker? A self-sufficient runtime for container, right? There is some command you can use like run, execute ps list containers, all the container, right? Build, pull, push images, login, logout, search, person info. There are some management commands also, right? So many commands, right? Swarm commands, I have never heard all that. But anyway, let's forget about that. The only thing we're going to look at is maybe ps, build, pull, some of this command, right? So I have given all that in our, okay, couple of things what we need, we have here already, okay? So what I'm going to do is from the Docker Hub, right? I will just run this one, okay? Docker pull Mongo. Docker pull Mongo, right? This is one way to just to pull the Mongo from the hub, okay? This will pull the Mongo, right? And the command we have here is, let's go back here. Docker run -d -p and the port, right? So, and this is basically port mapping also. See, the Docker pull Mongo will just pull the image, but if you want to run that image, this is the command now, right? So what I'm going to do, if you don't have image and you run this command, what it will do, right? It will look locally. If it will not find, then it will go to the Docker Hub and pull it again. So it will do the both thing, right? So let's run that. I'll just copy this and try to run in the command here, right? So just go to the last line and I'm gonna, oh, it did not work. Okay, I did not copy then. Control C. So just look at Docker run -d -p. So D means what? D means detached mode, right? It says, okay, you can run the run this container, right? You can run the container, but free up this what you call it, terminal, right? Don't use this terminal, okay? Just free up so that I can use the terminal again for other stuff, right? So that is called detached mode. -port is -p is port mapping, right? We call it port mapping because when you run the Mongo, right, we are saying, okay, Mongo gonna have port. Mongo will be running. I mean, basically container is running, right? For Mongo, it will create a container for Mongo, and you need to connect now. How you gonna connect to the MongoDB there? See, in the local environment, we used to do the local host something, you know, and then you have the port, right? 27017 for Mongo. So we're saying, okay, when from my local computer, right? If I need to redirect to the container, this will be the local computer port and this will be the container port. Okay. So that's how it's going to work, right? So if somebody goes here and I say, okay, localhost 2017 like this, right? And enter, it should give error, right? Because there is no port running or anything, right? But later you will see what happened. Okay, let's run this command. So unable to find image Mongo, right? Locally, but start pulling now from the library Mongo. Okay. So let's see what happened. It will take, first time it's going to take some time, right? Because it is downloading the whole image. So the run is what? Run is to run the container, right? Start the container, okay? And you giving the name for that container Mongo, right? You can give it any name, DB, Mongo, whatever. Oh, okay. So sorry guys, that's not the name, right? That will be the image. Okay, image name is Mongo. We have to write like dash name something, okay, for the name, right? So if we did not give any name, it will take, it will just give us something, some name, right, for that container. Download complete. Let's wait for a few seconds. Only is in the beginning it's difficult to understand it, but just understand what is image and what is container, right? And we understand container, that means it's all about few commands, how you're going to run that container, right? That is all. Okay, so you have to just understand the concept of container and image, the difference between both, right? Yeah, I was when I was in the beginning, right? I started all these DevOps things like from the last, not even the last, when I finished last class, right? Last year class. Then I said, okay, let me look at the DevOps, because my friend keep telling me, okay, you need to add these things also, right? Because that is the required in the job, right? It's just, all, every company asking for DevOps things. So I start looking at, like, okay, let me figure out a couple of things. And it was hard for me to understand like what is image and what is container, right? I always get mixed up. Okay, so that's what I'm telling you. If you understand image and the difference between container, right, then you get it. Container is basically the runtime, right? Like something is running, then that is container. It has all the code inside already, right? Image is basically the software packed together, okay, like package, right, which you can ship anywhere. Like, like package means what? You pack some food, right, and ship it to your friend somewhere. Okay, that is like a package. That is image. So first time it will take time, okay, to download, right? It's gonna take time. But if you have image already locally, then it just take like second, right, to run your container. So now, yeah, so basically we understand that. So inside Docker, what are the things? You guys have to read through. Okay, when you after class, you just read through, right? Inside Docker, what you will get, right? Basically, as an application full stack developer, you need to be comfortable with the following terminologies, right? Like Docker engine. So Docker engine, basically the same like window. When you start a window, right, that is the window engine or program, right? Docker engine in same thing, the runtime environment for your container, right? And then CLI commands, couple of commands which you're gonna need to run your Docker to basically like stop your image, or like pull image, create image, all that is a command, right? Anything you run in a terminal will be like command for like command line interface, right? So basically some small piece of code you're gonna need to run your Docker, right? Whatever you're gonna do in the Docker, okay? And the Docker registry means the Docker hub, right, where you're gonna store your package, okay, like all your code, right? So just go through that. And then image versus container, so we have talked about that a lot. Just try to understand, right? And the port mapping means from your local browser you want to enter inside the Docker host, right, or inside the Docker container, because you cannot access directly. You have to tell it. You just run the command, right? You have to tell your Docker container that if someone will look for you with this port, so you must redirect, right? You must let it access to your information, okay? So that is port mapping. So this is the local machine port, right? For example, local machine port, and then this will be the container port, right? And then you're gonna go there. So let's see. Okay, it's installed already, right? It's running, and look at here, the container has this basically, I think container has some name, right? So if I go and check here, Docker, let's run couple of command, right? Docker images, right? It will give me something. Okay, so Docker images give me all the images, right? I have only one image, that is Mongo. If I say Docker PS, right? So it will tell me how many containers are running inside my Docker engine, right? So I have only one container running. That is, this is the name of the container, right? And I mean, this is basically some code or something for that container name. You can see the image is called Mongo. Command, whatever here, I don't know what is that, right? About a minute ago. So this is live, right? This is what you're gonna need, okay, to basically, if you want to delete this container or something like that, right? Remove this container, okay? This code you're gonna need, but for now, let's not worry about that. So our container is running now, right? Let's go and refresh this page, okay? Because we have added the port mapping also, localhost 2017. If I go to this port now, right, and see what I get. So if I refresh, it did not give me anything. Okay, why is that? Let's check, right? So it's run. Okay, status is in use, right? Okay, fine. In use, but it's not running. Okay, so why not? Because we added to run, right? It's not running. Okay, this basically this container is not running yet. We can go to the container and check now. Click on container, right? So we have this container. Okay, this container is live. Okay, let's see. So this is running. That was the image, right? And we have one container here running. Okay, that's the name. But I did not able to access that. That's the point, you know. Why not? Just give me a second, guys. Let me check quickly, right? So we have Docker run. We got a port, right? Oh, sorry. Maybe I put 27. I don't know what port I put, right? 27018. Did I add that? Yeah, that was because I copied this one, right? So this is my port. Local port is 27018, and from that port I need to access the container port, that is 27017, right? So that was the mistake. So let's say 2018, right? That is my local port. From here, if I go to my local port, right, it should redirect me to the, you know, the container Mongo port, right? And still it did not. I don't know why it's not working. HTTP ://localhost 2018, right? And enter. Okay, it did not work. So I'm just surprised why it's not working. Okay, I have to figure out, right, why it's not working in my system right now. 27018, right? 27018. That's what I added. That's the mistake. 27, guys, please watch me. 27018, right? Click. Still error. Okay, it's running. No, we did not, right? It did not work. Localhost : right, and then we can call the port 20. Let's see. 27018, right? 27018. If I call this port, I must redirect, you know, it must redirect me to that Docker port, right? But it didn't work. I don't know. I have to figure out, right? It should, but it didn't work. So that's fine. You know, it should give us something, right? Okay, so let's look at the next command, right? So basically, like these are the few commands. Now let's run, right? Let's run again. We have done the Docker ps and Docker images. Fine, we have that all. If we just go and call Docker run, right, to see what happened. Docker run, and then call this image, basically this container, right? Let's call that container. Unable to find image, well, not image, okay? Just call it Docker run. So create and run a new container from the image, right? Okay. I mean, our Docker is already live, so it does not matter. So one thing, like I'm just surprised why it didn't work. I have to figure that out. So let's leave that part, right? Because when we call this, once you run the MongoDB, right? I mean, we should be able to basically connect from one of the port, right? Whatever port we map here, okay? It should connect from here to the MongoDB, right? But I mean, basically somehow it's not working. I have to figure out that. Next step, let's look at the next step, right? So you can just read through here, okay? Like dash P is, let you create a port mapping, right? And dash D means let you run it in the detached mode, right? So we have both added already. So we should be able to use our terminal easily to, do other stuff, right? Not here, but in our terminal here, okay? So the next thing is, so finally the step 8, right? Here is step 8, Docker file. What is Docker file now? Let's go through here. So see, in the real world, right, we will be not using all this command in the terminal, okay? This is for testing purpose, right? And in the server also, you will be not using the command, okay? You can do that, but normally what happened, we create a Docker file, right? Let's say we have one project, okay? Simple project right here. What I'm going to do is, just open the new window, right, quickly. So how we're going to add Docker files, that is what we try to understand now. File, open folder. So in the window, right, basically in the documents, in my project folder here, in the DevOps Docker, let's create one basically project, simple project, right? Call it maybe back in, something like that, and open that one, okay? So in project, when you have any projects, how you initialize that, like normally, right? How you initialize npm init -y npm init -y, right? And you can have package.json, so you can install anything you need, right? So let's call it npm install express, for example, okay? And you can install maybe nodemon also, right? npm install nodemon. So normally, if this is a project, right, and I have one file called maybe what you can call app.js for now, simple enough, so you're going to import express and all that, right, and create the server here. For example, just imagine, okay, you can do all that. When you run this server, like when you run a node app, right, .js, if there is a server, it will run, right? So I mean, we can import, let's import express, right, from required. Now this is required express, okay? Not import, sorry guys, const, because this is the old one, right? Const express, and then you're going to create const app, right, from here. Just run that express, okay? Now you can create app, basically server, right? App.get, and here you can have like localhost 3000, and you're gonna call the callback function, right? To maybe render something. So in the callback you have request and response, right? Request and response. Rest dot maybe send something, some message, right? Just send it some message. Hello world, right? Like that. Okay. So so now, right? Rest at send hello world. You can do that. What we're gonna do to create server? Same thing. App.listen, right? Listen to one of the port for your server, and port you can add here. For now, we're not gonna add any env variables environment. So let's make it maybe 8000, right? Or even 3000, does not matter. So let's make it 8000, and from here we have callback function, right? Something we can just console log. Okay, simple console log, right? Console.log, we call it port is, basically server is running, right? Server is healthy or something like that, running. Okay, fine. That's simple node app, right? If you do okay, you just have to change, maybe if you want to run the node one, right? Here just add start, like npm start, and then it should called, you know, our node1, right? Node1, npm node1, and then it will call our app.js, right? Like that. Just put the comma to remove the error, right? So let's start and see what happened. Npm start, right? It's running. Okay, server is running, right? That's fine, it's working. Okay, so for example, this is our local program, right? If you go now live here, let's call it localhost 8000, right? That is the port we are exposed or running right now. It will give me hello world, correct? So I have the API, get API running, right, in the localhost root route. Okay, now I want to containerize that. That's what we are going to learn, right? Means how you're going to write the container, basically Docker file, right? So that this can be containerized. How you can do that? So basically we add one root file here, call it Docker file, I believe. Yeah, that's one, right? See, Docker file, right? So you just install the extension Docker also, so that you can get that, you know, like in the extension you can install the Docker, right? You can just install, you know, that Docker. Okay, was suggesting, you know, something right about Docker last time in the extension here. So we can just install that. So we have Docker file. Now you write all the code right here. Okay, simple, like you know, there are some steps, right? So you need to have couple of steps. Let's look at that step. Okay, we have, oh, I did not add the image, right? So normally what happened, right, when you have a Docker file, first you're going to define from, how you're going to start this, like, see that the container is what, isolated system, right? So it needs everything, you know, like node running inside that container. You need all the remaining packages, right, run inside that container. That's how it will be isolated, right? So if even Next.js we run on what, Node.js, right? So you're gonna need what, node. First you need to start from node, right? You say, you tell it, okay, my first program, right, will be Node.js. Okay, so just get or run that Node.js from Node.js, right? So that is what you're gonna add. We just put from, right? This is like a root. Basically we call it base image, right? That is a base image. The next you have what? So you're gonna create a container, right? Now working directory, like you want a folder where you're gonna put all your code now. So let's say this, we're going to create image, right? You need that image need node.js. That is the basically base image. We have that from, okay, start from there. So it will pull that node from the git docker hub, right, automatically. Next is working directory, so you're going to add that, right? So just below that, work directory, work dir will be /app, right? So normally this is the trend, you just call it /app. It will create that folder, right, called app folder, and it will start the all code install inside that app, right? That is second one. You can copy the JSON file or something like that, or right, you can just call it maybe this one. Okay, let's copy everything. So this is the basic thing, right? Like very base level of creating Docker file. See what this does means two dot, right? What is the two dot means? Two dot means copy everything from the root directory, right here. See, my root directory is backend, right? This backend. So from here, from this backend, copy everything, all this information, right, to my app directory, or maybe the root of this project, right? Root of this image, okay? Copy inside there. From my local root to the image root, right? Copy everything. So see, in the Docker file, normally what happened, right? We define the set of rule from creating image, and then all the image we define here, right, will be automatically installed and run. That's what we do here, okay? So the next is expose to the port, right? Which port you want to run, you have to expose, right? So normally we have here, we added 8000, right? So let's change it, because you want Docker to run in that port, okay? And then after that, basically this command to run, right, like that. Okay, so see, when you copy from your backend, right, what are you gonna copy? You're gonna copy this package JSON, you're gonna copy everything, but you want to, sometimes you want to, not sometimes, all the time, you want to ignore your like node modules you don't want copy from your local machine to the to your what you call that, to here, right? You don't want that. Why? Because you have to write some command here, okay, like run command, right? Run, we're gonna call it first npm install, right? Because just install your package, this everything inside this package, install that. Second command will be, you can write like a, you want to, maybe if you want to build, you can do that also, right? So you're gonna have command like run npm run, right? Run. So we can call it maybe npm run build, right? Npm run build. Like that, okay? But we don't have this npm run build, right? This must be inside here in this package script, okay? So you can have like basically build, right, like that, and that should run that whatever, right? I think I don't know what is that, what code we're gonna put here in the build, right? Where are you gonna build? So any directory somewhere that we don't have, so let's keep it empty for now. Let's not make it complex. Just guys, give me a second, okay? I was talking, right? The mic was on anyway. It was not recording. That's good. Let's give a few more minutes, right? And then we will be done for today, okay? So just let's continue. So just, I mean, you can see now, right? See, let's understand up to here, okay? We're not gonna need this npm run build. Even you're gonna have like in the future, you're gonna have, let's say you have the Postgres something database also, right? You want to run that. So npx, maybe npx what was that, npx and I don't know what, I don't remember that, and maybe npx like Prisma. Let's say you have Prisma, right? Prisma db generate, right? Something like that. Just remember, in all the command we run in our terminal, right, to make sure to run our project, okay, before going live, right? You're gonna have a lot of run, like we always do npm install when you're installing something. So this will install all the packages from here. It will install that. Then you have something like build, right? Build the projects. Then you want to run your, maybe you want to run your, like before building, maybe you want to run, before building, you must run this, right? So there is a step also. This is very important, right? To optimize your code running, we must run this in a proper steps. We're going to look at maybe in tomorrow class, right? I will create one project. We're going to clone that project and try to understand, right? But I'm just creating something simple for today class. So let's say everything is okay to run now, right? You have expose port also. So when you, now this container will be created. We're going to access that container with the 8000 port. Next one is CMD. What is CMD now, right? When this will only run when the container is live, right? See, these things happens before, like basically before, right? Before container is live. When everything is installation, basically everything is finished installing, right? Then this command will run as a final, to make our application live now, right? So this app basically, like, what we do here, right? npm start, same thing, same thing, right? Same thing gonna happen, okay? So it will run the app.js, basically it will run the app.js file. There is already server, it's gonna be live, right? I mean, this command will be run in the last to make our project live, okay? That is all. So that's how we create the Docker file, right? Normally what happened, you don't want to, like send, if you have .env file here, .env, right? You don't want to send that to your image or node module. You don't want to send that. So what you do is, there is one file called docker ignore, right? Same like git ignore, okay? And here you can put node modules, module, node modules. You can add, if you have env, anything you want to ignore from getting to the image, right? You just put it here, so that this, while creating image, those file will be not included, okay? We just need package JSON, that is all you need, right? And the rest of the code, like whatever the projects you have, okay? And this will install based on that package. Everything will install, right? And it will go live. Fine. So let's keep it up to here, right, guys? And we're gonna improve this with another projects and something like next step, right? So just go through reading part here. Now, like to build the image, you just run it like docker build -t, right? And give the name of the image from this local directory. And then you can run that image, docker run -p. You give the port. So we have 8000 port, right? And give the name of the image so that that image will be live. Okay. So that is all we have to do, right? Next. So let's start tomorrow. Okay, let's continue from here tomorrow, right? We're gonna, I need to figure out why that is not live. I did not test it more this morning, right? I did not test it. I just put all these things here, but I'm gonna test that, and then we're gonna, I will test 1 or 2 projects, and then we're gonna learn how to optimize our Docker file, right? And there are few more things we need to learn through the Dockerization, right? Or containerization, okay? And maybe in the end, we're gonna take one Next.js project and we're gonna containerize, right? We're gonna do that, because normally you will be working in the Next.js project, and that's what you're gonna add in the container, right? So it will be a good idea to do that. Okay, guys, thank you very much.